Okay. Hey, Thomas. Yeah. Oh, there's other survey. You don't need to know my birthday. Okay, let's before I start, how's everyone doing today? Any questions from last class or anything? No? You good? All right. Just wait a couple more minutes just for more people to show up. That later. Today's class, as I was rehearsing it this morning, it's going to be a doozy. Just letting you know. It's going to be mentally draining. So.
At least we're ready for it.
Yes.
A lot of coding, or is it a lot of new talent stuff?
It's a lot of new stuff. So in terms of I can see it being mentally draining in terms of, wow, it's just a lot to take in. Not let's say a lot of coding. We will do coding, but just a lot of new things. Yeah. Actually, you know what? While we're waiting for more people to show up, let me answer a couple of questions from last class that I'll get to today. So one of the questions I had was, what's that whole file called package.lock.json? Remember that? You know what package.json is, and then there's a package lock. So I just Googled it because I really didn't know. Lock.json. And I came across this documentation by NPM. So this lock file is automatically generated for any operations where NPM modifies either node modules or package.json. It describes the exact tree that was generated. So the way my interpretation of that is, it's just meta information upon how everything was NPM installed. Because my take on this is, sometimes when you NPM install a module and NPM install another module, that module may overwrite something this module depended on, and maybe at the end of the day, your application wasn't exactly have the right dependencies. So I think the package lock will make sure you have the right dependencies. That's my interpretation of that. But basically, it's just meta information. Another error message that you might get, if you see like throw error in your console, you might be running your node application in another console window, and that's why you're getting the error. So I remember last class, a couple of people showed me, why isn't it working? And they had to shut down their other node process, which was running in another console window, in order for their current console window to run in the same port. Okay. I still have to mark all of the majority of lab 3, so I'm behind on that. I'll get marking to that after this class. And that is, oh yeah, if you haven't already set up your Heroku account, because we will deploy for the first time our node apps up to the cloud. And yes, and now we shall begin. Okay. Before I begin, I'm going to answer a question. Actually, I'll do this first. So what are we going to do today? We are going to cover Express. So all of these past weeks, you've been learning how to create servers. Express is built on top of Connect, and it makes use of its middleware architecture. We're going to learn how to use the Express generator. The Express generator tool is really neat because in one command, it will generate for you an entire website. So you don't have to spend time and waste time, creating folders, configuring files. It'll generate a default website, if you will, and you just have to make changes here and there. That's what the Express generator is. And so you'll learn about its middleware architecture, its template engines, its routing system, a little bit about MVC model today. We'll talk about assignment 1, which I just made public on Blackboard, and we'll talk about deploying. Now, before I get to that, I'm going to answer a question that's probably on your minds. I remember getting this question for Lab 1. And so the question is this. So you know how we do create server or even .use whatever. How does this request and response get magically populated that I can be able to use them? Show of hands, who's been asking that question and it's been bugging them all day, all week long? Yes, 1, 2. Okay. I'm going to go over that right now, and hopefully by going over this, you'll get a fundamental mental model of what's happening under the hood when you're going on the internet. Okay. Okay. So here's our 10,000 foot view of what happens when you go to any website. So here you type in your website. Okay. What you're actually doing when you click enter is that the browser takes whatever you typed and submits a GET request, meaning to say it's wanting some file from this computer over here. By the way, when I first was studying computers and programming, it dawned on me the term web server could be misleading to a novice programmer. It's not so much, this is my idea or realization. A web server isn't so much the hardware, it's basically the software. Can your computer serve out files? If it can, then it's a web server, just like we've been doing in the past couple of weeks when you're creating web servers, right? Okay, so that's our 10,000 foot view. So let's try this here. Order function, where is, there's my link. Okay. Oops, I didn't want that. I want a new tab. New tab. JavaScript, as I mentioned before, has higher order functions, which basically means not only can you pass a variable in a function, but you can actually pass a function inside a function. That's basically the answer to this question. How do these variables get populated that I can now use them? The answer is it's being passed to another function called, in this case, called create server. So here's a book called Eloquent JavaScript. It's a really cool book, but I'm going to use their example here. And I'm going to demonstrate what they said in this book. So here we go. I'm going to go to a cool little website called REPL.it. It's kind of neat because you can type in whatever language you want, and it'll give you the runtime environment for that language. And here I am, right? So now I can do JavaScript things like let a equals hi console log hi and run it. And when I say run, I can see the output right away. Cool. All right, cool. So here's their example. For loop that we all know and love. You know, what's it going to do? Obviously, it's going to console log this 10 times. I'll know that. Question to you. If I want to abstract this so that I can give it a number and it will loop that many times, how would I do it? Basic answer, create a what? So if I want to say like this, if I wanted to give it some variable, how's that going to work for me? How can I make it? What do I need to create? What structure? Yes, a function. So let's create a function called repeat parameter n. Okay, will it run? No, because I haven't called it. So let's call it. Repeat 3 times. Wonderful. We all understand that. That's very basic. Here's the thing that you're still struggling with. When in JavaScript, functions can be passed to other functions. So here's your idea. Here's the big idea. This console log is a function. What if I want to pass my own function? So I want to define that myself. Where does this action come from? I'm going to pass it my function here. Where does this come from now? I mean, I have to define it here. It still works, right? 5 times, run it, still works. I'm hoping your light bulb is turning on. So here, this is sort of like the create server response request. Like, how did this X get populated all of a sudden within this function? If your eyes only focused on this and didn't know about this, you'd say, wait a minute, where did that X come from? The answer is it came from this line here, which was passed. So the answer basically is the parameter was defined before my function was called. Does that make sense? Okay, just to even put the nail in the coffin here. I have a couple links to show you here. This one here. So when you say a function in JavaScript, it may not seem obvious, but really the function itself is just a value, just like 42 or 123 would be. That may sound like a strange concept at first, so take a moment to ponder it. Not only can you pass a value, like 123, but you can pass a function itself, and the value is that function. Okay. So let's try this. Where did my thing go? Well, here I could say, instead of console log, I could say something like other function. Run. That's doing another function. Whatever I defined, whatever I want in my function, I can use. Okay. Or instead of alert, let's try my own function. Let's try doing something totally different. Let's multiply it by 2. So as expected. Okay. So just to nail it down here. So when you see this code, let's reverse engineer this code to see what's happening under the hood. So obviously when I run it, it's not going to work, right? Let's strip this down to its essentials. And the question I want you to think of is, how is request and response magically populated that I can use this here? I'm going to reverse engineer and kind of show you what's happening. So let's take away the HTTP. We'll just strip it down to its bare essentials. Get rid of the response. You just want to work with one parameter. And because I got rid of the response, let's get rid of anything that uses response, which is these 2 lines. So now we just have this. I run it, obviously it can't run because it says create server is not defined. And that function. We'll take my function here. Or you know what, I'm going to call it something else. I'm going to call it, just to be real obvious, action to be called later. So at the end of the day, I'm going to call this function. So to call it, pass in a request object. So where is that request object being made? Obviously, it has to be made before my function is called. So we could say something like this. Request equals some kind of object, because that's what a request is. It's an object. You could say something like this. URL was about post. But here, when I call it, I can say request.url and run it, and it should give me. Does that kind of make sense now? Like if you just looked at create this code by itself, you would think originally how did request magically get populated? The answer is it's happening here. That's just for fun's sake. Response as well. We pass the response, which means we have to create a response. And let's say I want in my code here, I want to say something like response.send hi. Okay, well, we don't have a send function yet, but remember how I said last class that in objects, not only can you put like A:1, B:true, you can put like whatever a function. I believe that is it. Let's run it. There it is. Hi. Just to really nail the concept of how JavaScript functions and objects are actually the same thing. Let me repeat that sentence. In JavaScript, functions actually objects. Just like how this send is a variable for this value. Before, the original code was this, HTTP dot. How do we make this happen? Because right now, it's not running. How do we make this run? Well, we're going to just use the same pattern here, right? If this is a variable and this is the value, this whole thing can be the value of HTTP. So I can just go like something like this. Const equals some object. Here, I could say, A equals 1, B equals true, but I could also say server equals all of this. That, and we're good to go. Run. Okay, so hopefully you understand what's happening now when you see code like this, and you're wondering about this. So how would you answer this, Sean, for example? I'm only picking on you because you asked the question in your lab 1. How would you answer, how does request and response magically populated that you can use it? How'd you answer that now? No, okay. no problem. So I would basically say the reason why I can use it, this function with these request and response, is because request and response is being defined before I'm being called, before my function is being called. That's why this style of code is called a callback, because this function will be called back later. And there it is. It's being called back later. Okay, does that make sense under the hood? Yes. Eyes opened. So back to our slides. So what is the role of the attribute request in the function method? I'm going to open up our default. I'm going to open up our first hello world example. So here, this is week 1 stuff. Okay. So here's our code. Let me magnify that. What is the purpose of this? So this request, it has all the information regarding what you typed in the browser address bar, as well as a bunch of other things. You want to take a look inside that to see what it looks like? Let's try that out. So I'm going to put a breakpoint right here. I'm going to try it. Now I did this horribly last class, but I'm going to try to debug this. Say launch. Is it working? Oh, good, it's working. So if I go to localhost 1000, it's hanging because it's breaking right at this line. Great. But the reason why I want to break at that line is because by this time, at this point in time, the request object has already been populated. So here, the question, can I see what's inside that request object? Yeah. Down more. I can't put that. So when you make a request, when you type in an address in a browser, by the time it reaches the server, in our case, the request object has been populated with all of this. And if I scroll down far enough, you'll see a request.url. There it is. So that represents root directory because I requested localhost 3000 with no path after that. So that's why it just says root. Okay. If I had said a different one, like let's go to refresh this one. Refresh. Okay, now it's starting again. Yes, good. Go into localhost 3000 about. I'll put some parameters there too. R equals 2. It's hanging because it's stopping. All right, so now in my request object, I want to see that path URL. If I scroll down, oh, let me stop the debugger, launch it again. It's running. About it's hanging, stopping there. Somewhere in the request, there. URL about, right? Now, the whole reason why I'm going through this laboriously is because when it comes time to do your code, let me just quickly go to someone else's code. Here's an example of a finished node application. And if you look at their this is what you're in for Express. You will have to realize you're using a GET request, whether you're using a POST request, whether you're putting a delete request, whether you're putting a PUT request. And you have to code that in. That's what Express is about. So if you're entering the root path, it's just a regular GET, then go somewhere. If you're going through about us, then you have to code that in too. That's what Express is about. Okay, it's very similar to Connect. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, back to this diagram for a second. Here's the mean stack that this course is about. Where does that mean stack fit in here? So if we were to magnify or zoom into this computer, that's where the mean stack would fit. So again, mean stands for Mongo, which we'll get to in a couple of weeks. That's the database. E is Express, which is what we're doing today. A is for Angular, which can be substituted with other frameworks like Vue or React. So instead of mean, you'll probably hear things like MERN or Mevin. And N stands for node. So, and if you were to magnify or zoom into just these two here, so what's happening under the hood of Express, then we get into the MVC model. Okay, so MVC is a design architecture to separate the logic, the data, and the visualization of the application. And you've already had experience this in your lab for Connect. So when the browser comes in with a GET request, like get/about, you've probably coded, if app.use/about, then do this function. So the dispatcher, what that is it's sort of like remember those old days when you call into a company and you get the operator and the operator asks you what extension, and well, I guess they do that now too. And then they'll just patch you in the right extension. So the same thing here. It's like the telephone operator, dispatcher. So it comes in, looks at, do you want to go to root? Do you want to go /about? And then it fishes, gets you to the right place. And that's where the controller is. So the controller in your last lab, that would be like the function that you typed, right? So /add That's the dispatcher. And then the code was, X plus Y kind of thing. That's the logic. That fits here. And then the actual sending part is the views. So that's when you said, in your case, res.write or res.send or res.end. And then you put in some text. That's the view. So the views refer to, however, we haven't really touched upon how to output HTML yet. All we've been doing is just outputting text. Now we're going to get into outputting HTML. The tool to help with you with that is something called template engines. So the cool thing with template engines is it basically looks like HTML, but the cool thing is you can substitute variables in any part of the page you want, whereas in HTML you can't do that. So the views refer to template engines because we don't serve HTML files anymore because it doesn't support server-side variables. The models, which we'll get to next a couple weeks, refers to the database. Yeah, so that's all I want to say. Okay, so now on to Express. Here's their website for Express. It is a fast, unopinionated, minimalist web framework for Node. Okay. Here's a link to their NPM library. So on NPM, they have Express. Check out how many downloads in the past week. Almost 2 million in the past week. A package on NPM is considered legitimate / reliable when it's pretty popular. If you see like one, it could be sketchy kind of thing, right? So keep in mind that Node by itself was not specifically designed for web servers. It was really designed for network communication. But what we've been doing in the past few weeks is we've been learning to build HTTP servers just using different libraries. So at first, we've been using the core module HTTP in week 1. Then we use Connect, and now we're using Express, which is built on top of Connect. By the way, other similar Node frameworks besides Express, you may have heard of Happy or Koa. I'm curious to see how popular. 62,000. Obviously, the Express framework is the go-to. What else to see? Right. So you saw the slide last week. We are comparing our original create server with the core module HTTP with what we imported last time, which was. And the big takeaway was you'll notice that Connect actually you get to define the routes. Here's a new slide comparing Connect and Express. There are 3 differences. What do you see? Name one. Yeah. So different require. That's obviously you have to require the right package. Yeah. What else? Yeah. Okay. Now here we set a .get, and here that we set a .use. Now Express also has a .use, but as you'll see, you'll basically be using .get for most of your code. Okay. Anything else? Yeah. So in the response, remember how before in Connect when you said res dot, what was the other method? I forget now. Was it res.write or res.send? Like it would still hang. The web page would still hang. And what was the solution to that? You had to send a res.end, right? Here for Connect or for Express rather, send has an end attached to it already. Okay, so you could say res.send, you could say res.end. Well, it's all good. All right. So here's a formal definition of Express. Hint, hint, midterm question. Express is built on top of and extends Connect and makes use of its middleware architecture. Express uses template engines, routing system, and more. Your turn. We are going to create a Hello World, a basic Hello World app using Express. So basically very, very similar to Hello World from Connect, but we're going to use Express. So let's try that. So here are the steps that you will type in your console. So let's try that out. Open my console. Let's create a new folder in whatever folder you usually have. I'll create a new folder called lesson 4D. So step 1 is complete. We created a new folder. All right. Step 2, I said, let's initialize this thing. npm init. npm init. Now, a shortcut, because usually when you say npm init, it gives you all those questions, and you just have to press enter, 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 and then finally it creates a package.json file. Here's a shortcut. FYI, if you say npm init -y for yes, enter, it creates the package.json for you as if you press enter, enter all the way through. Next step, let's install the Express framework. Let's say npm install Express. Wait, yeah, okay, you can press enter. Before I press enter, let me just review for what npm init did. 2 things that npm init did, again, as a reminder, if I dir, it just created a package.json. Oh, I was thinking of something else, yes. So it just created a package.json. All right, now we npm install Express, enter. 2 things are happening. What 2 things are happening right now? Yes, node modules, yes. Yeah, node underscore modules, and that's correct. And one other thing that did. Package.json. So if I look at my package.json again, now it has a new dependency called Express. Hold that in your head. Okay. Next step. Oh, well, I wanted to mention something about, you may see in documentations, like for example here on Express's website, you may see something like this, where they say, put the -- save. That is no longer needed anymore ever since node, I want to say node 6, around there. You don't need to say -- save. What -- save originally did was it made sure that when you install the module, it would go into package.json and insert the dependency for that new module, just like we saw now. If you didn't say -, save, it wouldn't do that. But now, by default, it does that. FYI. Okay. And now let's create our app. So let's close all of this. Let's open a new folder, which I just opened. What did I call it? Lesson 4D. There it is. Okay. Why is it looking like that? Because I stretched it. Okay. So let's create a new file. We'll call it index.js. Actually, you know what? I think I'll call it app. I'm going to make you guys use app.js. That's the default name. Okay. So let's type in the code that we saw on the slide here. Let's type this in. You can copy and paste it, but I think I'll type it in. So const express equals require. Oh, question. What? Yes, I do have express. That's right. Install. No, hold on. Let me just. dir. Good. Next thing I wanted to type according to the slide was this one right here. Const app equals express. And is the app.get. And because I now instantiated through this line, I can now use app.something. So whenever a user goes into the browser and looks for localhost 3000 without any path or URL behind that, then we'll send hello world. The old-fashioned way. Next, say res dot. What did I say? Res dot send. And we're just doing basic text for now. That's okay. We'll do the HTML stuff later. So notice how I'm having the all the red squiggly lines. That's ESLint telling me that I'm using old style. So if I say save, it actually fixes it for me. So and then the final line is app.listen. Okay, so let's run that. Let's go to my, this time I'll use this one. Code app. Working? Should have seen. Oh, wait. You know what? That's why I like to always say console log something. Port 3000. Try that again. Node app port 3000. So it's running. All right. Let's go to port 3000. Port 3000. There it is. It works. Great. Nothing new. Oh, question. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Can I, what? Last, this one here? Okay, yeah. Small? Let me magnify it. Sorry. Yeah, I always forget to magnify things, so please tell me during class to magnify it. Oh, question, yeah. I don't know if you can or can't, but by convention, when you come to express, you should use get, because use is actually used for something else now. See you in a second. Any questions? Any other questions? Questions? So just to reiterate, this, when you're saying this, root slash, that meant, you know, after you typed in your domain.com. Oh, question, yeah. Now, in this case, yeah. So if I said res.end, it would work the same. But don't get too hung up on that, because we will never use res.send or res.end ever again after this lab or after this exercise. Yeah, but yes, you're right. They're both the same now. So if I go to some other thing, like other path, I get an error message, cannot get some other path. Question, why is it get? Does it get? I'm trying to get it, right? So this by typing any web address here in the browser, as soon as I press enter, the browser submits a get request under the hood. So by default, get is the default method. Okay. Speaking of which, there are other methods in HTTP. You've heard a couple of them already. You've heard of get, and most likely you've done post before, right? For forms. Put and delete are some other ones. So basically, here's a definition. So in our Express code, we'll basically be using app.get, app.post, app.whatever. So that app.whatever, it defines the middleware functions to respond to the incoming HTTP requests made on a certain path. Okay, so the name of the command, get or post, corresponds to the kind of request we want to make. Okay. All right. Now, I'm just going to go a little bit off tangent here for a second. I'm going to talk about forms for a second. You said you've already done forms. I'm going to create just a basic HTML page. No, don't do this. Don't do this. Just I create a basic structure of HTML. I'm going to create a form. Okay, so form is, okay, before I fill that in, I'm just going to fill in some fields first, and then I'll get back to that in a second. Okay, so label, blah, 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 name, put, blah, blah, name, copy this code. Oops. Here's the things. So this was name, and this will be food. Creating a couple simple fields. That's all. And then we'll have a button to submit. Okay, so All right, so I made a very basic web page. I'm not even, am I running a web server? No. I'm just going to open the file in the browser. There's my very basic. Oh, wait, hold on, I'm in the wrong folder. That was my practice folder. Right. There it is. So I got name, I got food. So you've all done this before. You've created a form. I'm hoping by the time I click submit, hey, how's my submit? I don't have any text there. You're gonna have some eyes open. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna type in, whatever, food, fries. I want you to keep your eye on this URL, right? I'm not running a web server. This is just pure opening a file in Chrome. Watch what happens to the URL. It's gonna change as soon as I click submit. Ready? Oh, shoot. I forgot one thing. I said I was gonna go back to this one, didn't I? And I never got back to it. Okay. So in the past, when you've created forms, you said post, right? Usually. For now, I'm just gonna use get. And then here, action. What do you put in action? What is that? Yeah, the path, right? So let's say we want to go about. Let's refresh this for a second. Refresh, let's do it again. I'll be popcorn. All right. So keep your eye on this URL. Keep in mind that in the code, we're using a get, and the path is /about. Submit. I'm not running a server. This is just pure browser here. Look at what, do you recognize what just happened here? So under the hood, when you click to submit using a get, not a post, but a get for the method, it's really doing is it's as if you typed /about, and then it attaches your input fields to the proper properties. That's what's happening under the hood. So that by the time the server gets it, it sees that request.url equals that, and now it could parse it. That's what's happening. However, when you do post, which is usually what you do, save, refresh, or go back, refresh, whatever. Just get that. You don't see the variables. It's actually hidden from you. It's along with the headers that are invisible to you and that request body that's hidden. So it's more secure from a visual point of view. Eyes opened? Yes. Oh, yeah. So actually, if you want to take a look at what's happening under the hood for a post, because we can't do a post here. Let's actually look at. I'm going to open up something here. So let me close folder. I'm going to open up my lab 4, which is what you're doing today or in the next couple of days. Lab 4. All right. So let's node that. And the problem with being so okay, so let me node this. And actually, before I do, I want to go to my index.js. I want to stop right here for my debugger. So I want to see. So here in my code, I actually coded for a post. So if I go to localhost 3000 using a post method, then it's going to console log the name and the food. So let's try that out. So let's run the debugger. Hopefully it'll work. Launch. Is it working? Yes, it's working. Port 3000 already in use. Okay, so let's go into port 3000. Oh, hold on. Did I? Oh, am I doing wrong? What was that? I didn't stop it from the last time? Oh, right. Thank you. That's interesting. Right. It says port 3000 already in use. Shoot, I have to read error messages. Okay, debugger is listening on 3000, hopefully. Right. Okay, so if you were to look at the view source of this code, I did put a post in the form here, right? So let's type in something, popcorn. And because I put a breakpoint, did I put a breakpoint? Yes. So now what I'm doing is, when I click submit, it's not going to do a GET request. It's going to do a POST request to the server. Submit. There. It stopped here because that's where I put the breakpoint. Now, if I inspect this request, remember how I said when you do a POST, you can't see the values that you input in the form? But in the request, somewhere in here, if I scroll down far enough, hopefully I'll see something. Where to go? Request dot. Oh, there it is. Request dot body. There it is. Cool? Understand what's happening under the hood? Very good. Okay. So the bottom line is, go back to our slide. The bottom line is this: get reads, post creates, delete erases, and put updates. By the way, I don't have to, I can use the above things not only to send HTML pages, but I can use the above things to just send JSON data. So I can create my own APIs. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to get into, so everything you've learned up to this point in terms of creating Node apps, forget it. We're going to use this. This is what we're going to use from now on. Yes, question. Oh, if I pass get, the data will appear with the URL. Remember in the form when I click submit and then you saw the data in the URL?
No, I mean, the get in there, and if you breakpoint, then will you be able to see in the body, or if you can...
So if I put a breakpoint in the get instead of the post, will I see the? No. Well, you know what? The answer is no, because oh shoot, I don't have my code here anymore. So remember in my code, I had one section for router.post, which is what we saw, and above that there was .get. If we were doing a get, you tell me, would it even reach that code of the .get? No. So you won't see any variables because it won't even run that code. It only runs that code if you're doing a get request, which is typing an address bar, enter. But because we did it through the form, and the form had a method equals post, it doesn't even do the .get. It only does the .post code. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So this is something new. I want everyone to install this. So go here and type in this command, npm install -g for global express generator. I have a link here. Where does this link go to? Oh, it goes to npm. So here's the express generator package on npm. Well, because you're doing it -g for global, it doesn't matter where you are in your path currently. You could just be, anytime you say npm global install, it'll install it somewhere else, and it doesn't affect your current package.json. So from now on, when we create an app, you will be using a command through this express generator to generate our website. Okay, so Express will create, remember how I said before, Express creates all these things for you? Basically, it creates an app.js for you, so you don't have to make it yourself. It creates a bunch of folders, so it structures your folders for you. It creates some default pages for you, so you don't have to create that yourself. And you just have to start, tweaking it here and there to make your website. So it really saves a lot of time. For now, type in this, express-h. H is for help. Usually you can say -h for any command, and it'll give you some helpful information. And I want to point out the template engines. Notice how there's a few different template engines that Express can do. So for example, this first one, -e, refers to something called EJS engine support. That's what we'll be using for this class. There are other ones. There's one called Pug, which, by the way, before a few years ago, it was actually named Jade, but due to legal reasons, they had to change the name to Pug, as well as a couple of other ones. So remember how I said that template engines basically look like HTML, but the cool thing is you can substitute variables in it wherever you want. That's what this is. So just to show an example, here is, oops, JS. Here's EJS website, here's embedded JavaScript. Let me see if I can give you a sample of what you're in for. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to show you some code. Sorry. Example. It looks like this. So you use these bracket, percentage, bracket, percentage brackets, close it. What does that remind you of? What language that a previous course you've done here? Comp 1006. What does that remind you of? What language is that? PHP, yeah. So that's why we're using EJS, because it reminds you of PHP, something you already know. You've probably done similar things in other courses as well. There's a question. Question over there? Question, Devang?
People are getting like not recognized as an internal or external command. Express.
Oh man, so Express doesn't work for you? Okay, I'll come there during the break. It may be we have to. You did install it? Okay, it might be you have to fix your environment variables within Windows, and we'll do that during the break. And just to show you another example, so here, Pug, if you're curious to see what Pug looked like, it looks like this. Here, so Pug is actually more popular than EJS, but so this, if you type in this, it turns into this. But the problem with this is you have to be really careful about your indents, because that's how it works. If you mess up on your indentation, it won't work. So for example, if I go to, I found another website here. Here is Pug or Jade. Watch what happens if I mess up this indentation. So right now this is proper. This is good, right? The title tag should be encapsulated within the head tag. Watch what happens if I just mess up by there. The title tag is now outside of the head tag. That's improper HTML, right? So if I just take that HTML code, go to some kind of HTML validator where you can test whether or not your code is proper HTML, check it. It'll say error, right? The title is not in the head, kind of thing. So the only reason why we're going through this is because by default, if you don't say the -e, it will use Pug. So let's try this. Everyone, get to you. I don't know what folder you're in, but if you're in like lesson 4 D folder, get out of that. So you're back to your folder, I guess. And this is the new command that you are going to type from now on to create app. You can say express -e, and then name your app, whatever you want. Press enter. What just happened? Look here. So it created all of these folders and files for you. So remember how I said it created an app.js file, it created all these different folders, so you don't have to spend time configuring it and all that. There it is. Now, oops, what happened to my? Okay, so how to create an Express app. And the reason why I made these slides, so I have 3 slides: how to create an Express app, how to create routes and views within that, and then how to create partials within that. The reason I outlined my slides like this is to help you with your assignment number 1. Okay, so it's a nice, easy step-by-step. Hopefully, you'll appreciate that. Right? So the next thing to do is go into that folder and type in npm install. Go into the folder that you just created with the name, and then say npm install. So what does this do? Right now, if I were to say, before I say npm install, if I were to say dir, notice there's no node modules folder yet. So this app will obviously fail if I try to run it. Right? It needs the node modules. How do I get the node modules? You just say npm install, because what that will do is it will look inside your package.json, which I do have, and it'll look at all the dependencies and say, oh, okay, I will install this module, this module, this module, this module, this module. So let's try that. So npm install, boom. So now it's looking inside package.json, installing all of these modules along with their dependencies. Okay, now it's done. So now, if I say dir, I have a node modules, a new node modules folder. Let's take a look inside that. cd node modules. Before I say dir, how many files do you think are in here? dir. There. So not only do I have Express, but I have dependencies that Express requires, like this, like this, like this, and all that, right? I didn't include my hello to npm thing module, but well. So let's take a look at what's happening here. Maybe I'll do it using Windows Explorer just because it's more familiar. So where's my app here? Here's my app. Can I magnify this? Let's take a look at what it just did. Notice how it created a public folder. Double click that, you see where your images should go. You see where your JavaScript file should go. You see where your custom style sheets should go. So again, it creates the structure for you. It even has a default style.css file in that, but you could replace that with whatever you want. Okay. And here, what is oh wait, hold on. What do I have here? Public. Yes. Yeah. So in here, the roots folder, what is that? Let's examine that through Visual Studio Code. Let me close this off, close the folder. Open folder. And what did I name it? My app. Here's the roots. Magnify, magnify. Created index.js as well as users.js. This is where your dispatcher goes. So remember the model of the MVC model, which is back over here. Dispatcher, that's the purpose of this routes folder. This dispatches, oh, you want root? Okay, then you must do this. And this folder here, right there. Okay. This is where you put, router.get and router.post and whatever. Now, let's view this folder. Under views, if you take a look under views, let's look at the index.ejs file. So remember, the views should be like HTML pages, except we can substitute variables in there. So here, it looks just like HTML. The only difference is we have these tags here, which should remind you of PHP. Remember back in PHP days where you did like this, and then you say echo, I forget now, whatever it was. Something like that. Remember those days? Good old days, PHP. Same thing. So now instead of echo, you have equals. If you don't put the equals there, you can actually put JavaScript logic, just regular JavaScript expressions. Don't output anything. But if you put the equals there, it'll output like echo. But I should mention there are others. Let me show you the others. So if we go back to EJS.co, let's look at their little chart here of the different brackets. There it is. Under tags, you see all the different brackets that you can use. The only other one I'll mention is this one. If you find that you are using the equals and somehow it's not working because it's actually outputting the bracket li tag, close bracket, rather than, no, I want a list, then use not the equals, but use the -1, okay? Because the difference is the -1 is unescaped, whereas the equals will be escaped. That's it. Okay. And that is that. Let me just see what else we got here. Going back to our routes for a second, index.js. What did I want to say here? Right. We have to run this. So we've built it. How do we run it? Just like normal. You could say npm start, for example. So try npm start. So it's running on port 3000, I think. So open up port 3000. Let's see your new website. Your brand new website with a default page. Now you can just tweak it to make your assignment 1. Brand new website. Now, here's a couple questions. Let's look at the code that generated this, which is coming from the views. EJS. So here's the HTML. Oh, let me get rid of that. Here's the HTML that produced it. However, question, where did this variable title come from? Answer, it came from not the views folder, but the routes folder. So index.js, here is the title variable. So notice what's happening. I'm rendering an HTML page called index.ejs, but I'm passing along with that, hey, here's some variables you can use in your page. Okay, let's try, just for kicks, let's try passing in another variable. Right, because what format is this? When you see the squiggly brackets, what do you think in JavaScript? It's in what? It's JSON, or an object. So let's type in another parameter or another key value pair. So make sure you put a comma after the first entry, and we'll say message hello world. Save. Now notice here I have all these red squiggly lines because that's ESLint complaining. If I say save again, save, now I'll get through that. Now it's complaining, oh, ESLint router is never signed. You should use const instead. Okay, save. There. ESLint. Okay, so let's use that message. So if we save that file, let's go back to our EJS file. Let's maybe replace this parameter where it says welcome to whatever. Let's replace that with our message. And now, if you, we can't refresh because we didn't use nodemon. We have to actually control C out of that. Run it again. npm start. Refresh our page, and we should see welcome to hello world. Cool. Questions. What did I want to say about this? So the big idea is the router is the dispatcher, and that looks at the URL path that you really want, then shells off the output of the HTML. In this case, it's going to render this index. This index refers to whatever's in the views folder. So index refers to whatever.ejs. So then it looks at this one, outputs all of this, substitutes the variables, and you get the web page. Okay. What time is it? 12:06. Okay, one last thing before break, and before we talk about assignment 1. Remember MVC model. So we know that the dispatcher, that refers to the routes folder. And the controller refers to the functions But proper convention to actually have a controller is you actually have to make your own controllers folder. So along the same hierarchy as bin, node modules, and public, let's make sure I click out of that and then create folders folder. And we can have a proper MVC model going on. Then within that, we'll create a new file called, we'll call it index controller. JS. So what's going to happen now is, the big idea is this. We are going to cut, here's the index.js page again, or code. We are going to cut this controller part. So this is the logic part. This is the code part. We just want this routes folder to be pure dispatcher. We don't want it to be responsible for any logic. So we're going to eventually cut this out, paste it into our new index controller, and then replace this whole line with index controller. That's what we're going to do. That's the big idea. Let's try that. So create an index controller. So first of all, we want to make it exportable. And here we can create some kind of variable name, whatever you want. We'll say homepage equals. And then I could simply copy and paste this. So this function, I'm going to cut it here, paste it. That's it. And then back here in index.js, it obviously doesn't know what index controller is yet. And we want the home page. So the answer to that is we have to import it. So here we say const index controller equals required. Now because it's our own module and not a core module or something we npm installed previously, we have to actually specify a relative path. So we want to go up a directory because we're currently here, index.js, so it has to go in the same hierarchy as routes folder, which means we can now have access to controllers. Okay. And that's it. Let's just change something to make sure. Change the title to lesson 4. Let's see if it's working. Let's go back here. Out of that. Start running my thing. Refresh. So this should change. One of these should change. There, lesson 4. Ta-da! Now, question from a philosophical point of view. Why did I cut and paste that function from index and put it in this old folder called controllers? What advantage do you think, what benefit does that give me from a programmer's point of view? Say it again, sorry. All my logic is in one place. Yeah, that's right. Another benefit is let's say router .get/about, and what if the page is very, very, very similar, except the only thing that changes the variable of title? I don't want to type in the same code here. I'd rather use, the same code I already have, kind of thing. So it's reusable. Okay. Yeah. Oh, what was the question? Sorry. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. You're answering the question. Yeah. You can have many methods. Yeah. And I think, was it Simon? Oh, sorry. What was your name again? Roman. I think you asked last class, what is the purpose of next? Remember request, response, next? Here's your answer now. This line, before we output the HTML, what if we wanted to do something like filter it out for something? We'll say, some other controller. Something, comma. So what's going to happen is the request will go here. Then you call next in here. Inside this code, you say next, and then it'll go to and output the HTML. So you can actually have multiple going on there. So that's called middleware. And that is the end of the first hour. Any questions or comments before you have the much needed break? No? Okay, so have a 20-minute break, and we'll come back and talk about assignment 1. Hey, Bradley, how are you doing?
Last week.
Okay.
Other than that, I've been having trouble multitasking. Talk to Ross Bigelow and Sarah Jane, partially because of some send policy, and last week it made an allergic reaction, and even though I took some medication, some of the scents here bother me. So if you want to mention the scent policy, then that would be great. But I just don't think I can continue.
Okay.
That's just going to be a blackboard, right?
Yeah, that's all you change.
Yeah, well, I'm just not sure if I can proceed from here because I'm still missing a few materials I still don't understand. And because of my sickness, I missed my first tutor session, and my tutor and I weren't sure if I needed help in this class.
Right. Okay. Do what's best for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Devang, what's up?
I have a question. So when you write router and router is equal to or something, why do you use a backslash in the?
So, okay, so, so the question is, why do you have the backslash?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's happening here is this. You go to, say, georgiancollege.ca. What's happening under the hood is the browser is doing a get slash me root. So really, it's doing this, georgiancollege.ca root. Same thing, right? It's sort of like if in your folder, or like, are you familiar with the DOS prompt? And okay, so it's sort of like, let's pretend this is my root, right?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to go to another folder, so I say, right? If I wanted to go to this control this folder, I would say slash folders. There, right? But what my point is, let's say, okay, now I'm here. If I wanted to get the controllers right away, I could say, how do you remember how to do that? So I have to go to my app first, slash or backslash controllers, right? So this slash is representing the path, right? So by default, in your early first year semester, when you had a basic web page, did you access your web page somewhere?
Yes.
Okay, and then to access your web page, you would go to your
Domain.
Slash whatever folder, right? But let's say you had in your application, that's whatever's in that folder, you have to say in your URL, whatever folder name that is, right? Something index.html. So by default, the root is always the domain name. So whatever, if you go to google.ca, okay, what's happening is the browser's doing a get of root. So it's looking for maybe index.html. Okay, and so when you say in the code router.get slash, it's not looking at some other folder. But if I said us, now if the browser is doing a get slash, means in my code, it's not going to run the router.get will run router.get/about us. So basically, the slash is the path, URL path. And when I say URL, I just mean the stuff.
And talking about the Express, is it possible what we are doing here, like we installed the Express generator? So how about if we use any other from me, like if we use anything like Node or NPM or anything like other than like Express, we can also use anything else or
No, I don't think I don't know if there's anything else that does what Express Generator does. Maybe, I don't know. But Express generators would all be using. So that's the only thing I can support. Yeah.
that was the only question
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, are you still having that problem that it doesn't want to run?
No.
Oh, you solved it? Okay, good. All right. Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, you know what? I have a feeling. Can I see DIR? DIR? Okay. That's such. I'll try npm install again. I say npm install again.
Yeah.
Okay, can we run it again?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? Don't say my name. That's it.
That's it?
That's it. npm start. Yeah. Oh, still no. Oh, okay. So it's now giving you a different message. That's okay. It is working. It's just that it can't find the module index controller. So in your code, you probably either forgot this line or your index.js file. Check. Did you have that line? You did have that line. Okay. And then how about your index controller JS file? Did you? Oh, you do have that one too. Okay. That's interesting. Something's happening. Maybe there's a spelling error. Wait, go back. Oh, it is spelling error. You don't say index.controller. You say the same spelling as this. Yeah, I'll work.
And then just
npm start.
npm.
Just do the arrow up. Arrow up. There.
Oh.
That's the last command. Oh, now we're getting nothing then. Still cannot find that one. I'm not sure. Can I see your directory structure? Can you go back to here? And see your, oh, that's why, yeah. So your directory structure is incorrect. This controllers folder has to be in the same level as bin node modules public. And notice how controllers is actually a subdirectory of public. So
Did I do that?
You probably did by accident. Move that controllers out. So just drag controllers out here and it'll be in the same level. Yes, move. There, see, now controllers is in the same level. That should work.
That was my mistake.
Yeah. Npm start.
Thank you.
Okay. What's your name again? Cooper. Okay. Oh, hey, what's up? want to find out where modules are installed. Here, I want to find a path. Let's say 2 p.m. I'll give you a path. Say, okay, this is right click express. Modules that So if I go to that folder, this folder. I should see express. Modules. Okay. This is express command. Is it generator, right? Oh wait, this is the generator. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So if I said right now, if I said generator, or generator, if I said generator. Okay. Anyways, I'm just yeah, I'm gonna install. What's how is in practice? So now if I say so now if I go back to where's your folder again? Where is it? Where do you have it? Yes, it works now. So go to whatever you folder had before. It should work.
Do we have to install the Express generator in my folder or?
No. Express generator is a global install. So when you say -G, it doesn't go in your My App folder. It goes somewhere else in your window.
Okay. So it doesn't go in the package.json?
No, because it's a global install. Okay, I missed this part. I missed this part. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Are you in the right folder? You have all this stuff here. Oh, okay, you are in the right folder. NPM install. Oh, that's fine, because you don't have any node modules folder. So remember, when you say express minus E my app, it generates all of this, but the problem is you need a node modules folder, otherwise it won't run. But that's the purpose of npm install, because that command will look inside your package.json folder, and it'll install all of this for you. That's why. So now it should run. Try it. Yeah. Okay. All right, time to get back at it. So let's talk about assignment 1. This assignment is basically the same assignment as Rich Freeman gives in his other classes for this course. It's slight modifications, but nothing too drastic. Original content. I have a few original contents here, just very few though. Okay, so the first thing you need to know, it's due in 2 parts. So part 1 is due next week, Friday. Okay, the purpose of that, as Rich Freeman says in his YouTube, is to help you or force you to get started. So notice it's only 4 marks. So what we're looking for here is just that you got it started. You got your roots. It doesn't have to look anything fancy, bare bones, as long as the roots are there. And I can click a link and it goes to the proper page. Okay. Part 2 is due the week after that. Okay, it's worth a lot, 25%. So the good news though, so it's 2 weeks total that you have on this, but the good news is when you say that command express-e my app, it's already built the website for you. You just have to tweak a few things here and there, just like we did today. Okay. Another reason why we're doing this assignment is because a lot of employers, by the time you graduate, they want to see 3 things from you as a developer. They want your GitHub, they want your LinkedIn, they want a portfolio. And so this assignment will help you hopefully get jobs. So treat it that way. Don't treat it like you're submitting it for me for a class. Submit it like this is your future. All right. And actually, Rich Freeman in his YouTube, he actually tells the story of how one Georgian student created a portfolio, went in for an interview, and then the employer said or asked, "Do you have a portfolio page?" She said yes, and the employer said, "You are the first person we've interviewed that has a portfolio page," and then she was offered a job right there. Cool story. Let me show you. I put here one example of Rich Freeman's example for this assignment. So let me just copy that. This is what your assignment kind of should look like. Oh. It doesn't have to be anything fancy in terms of styling. So you got your home page, you got an about page, you got some projects. So this will be the majority of your work projects. So you don't have to put necessarily website projects that you've done in the past. You could put any non-web stuff here if you want. Like one student in the past, he took his phone to video recorded himself using his application and put it on YouTube and then linked to his YouTube. That's fine. A services page and a contact page. So this is what your assignment should have. It should have 5 different links. This contact page does not have to work. Okay. So you have to use the Express generator to build it, and you have to use the EJS template engine. So you'll be using app.get most of the time. Let me see here. You can use, okay, this is where I'll say you can use any CSS framework you want, except Bootstrap. So that's my, yeah, I'm getting a strange face. I noticed my time here as a student, every time we needed CSS, it was always Bootstrap. Now, the reason why I'm deducting a few marks if you're using Bootstrap is because I want to challenge you to use something you've never used before. You can use something else, like, yeah, non-Bootstrap. So no, there's tons of CSS frameworks out there. You can use whatever you want, okay? And also, partially in my mind, it'll help prevent cheating as well. All of your content, so each of these pages are static, okay? So it's very simple. It's nothing too crazy. So all of this, for example, can be static. It's okay. You have to commit to Git. You know what I should do? I should actually pull up the assignment as I'm going through my notes. So let's open this up. There it is again. Okay. So we've said this, you're using express, you're using the express minus E. You're gonna separate into the various folders. The only thing you have to worry about is creating a new folder called controllers, which is something new for me because I think that for his. You can use any framework such as GetML or Materialize or anything you want, but not Bootstrap. What else did I say? Documentation. Right, so make sure you commit to Git and don't make it like, so, you know, for assignment 1, part 1, it's due at midnight and you start 5 minutes in, decide to commit 5 times. You know, I don't want to see that. We want you to deploy to either Heroku or Azure or some other cloud hosting. And there's a bunch of bonus marks that you can do. So bonus marks are, if you figure out how to use Vue.js, bonus marks for you. So again, Vue.js is just a front-end framework like Angular or React. If you figure out how to make your contact web page work. So again, this contact page doesn't have to work. But if you figure out by going to npm website and, you know, try and figure out, okay, how do I make email work? There's a bunch of modules here. I wonder which one I should use. I wonder how to use it. You figure that out on your own, how to use it and make it work, you get marks. Another bonus mark if you attach it to a full domain name, for example, domain.ca. And you do get, as a student, you do get 1 free domain name for 1 year that comes with your GitHub student pack. Let me see where else I have to go with this. Yeah, because employers want to know that you can figure out how to put stuff on websites, get your own, how to register for a domain, how to get it online, that kind of thing. There's one other thing here that Rich stated, and is if you decide to use external code, email me just so that you get approval, and it can't be more than 10% of your code.
What is that?
Like oftentimes people will go to Stack Overflow to figure out how to do something. They'll copy and paste their code and submit it as if they were own, but that's plagiarism. So you can email me saying, hey, here's Stack Overflow webpage. Can I use their code? I say yes. It's not more than 10% sure. So for part 1, it's just getting started. Okay, and it's only 4 marks. So set up your 5 views. I expect you to have all 5 views, and that it works. So if I click on, you know, a link that goes to view 2, it'll go to that view. Kind of thing. No styles are needed. And yeah, any questions on assignment 1? So you have 2 weeks to do that. Personally, I attempted assignment 1 a couple of days ago. I didn't complete it, but I noticed I was debating how far you should go. Like, should you complete maybe all of number 1 to get 8 marks? Should you complete all of number 1 and 2A or 2B to get some marks? I want you to aim higher than the 4 marks that's required here. I want you to aim for up to 2E. Okay, and the reason why I say that is the rest of the class that I'll be teaching you today, you will know how to do lab 4. You will know how to do assignment 1. If you do lab 4, like I do it today, you basically have more than 50% of your mark for assignment 1 if you apply the same techniques to assignment 1. Right, so for lab 4, all you have to do is create your 5 views or whatever views, how many, And I'm going to challenge you for bonus marks to add some kind of CSS framework in there. If you're successful with that, and you apply the exact same principles to assignment 1, you already got at least 50% of your mark for assignment 1. So aim higher than just starting it off. Okay. And that is that. Okay. Let's get back to coding. Any questions or comments so far before we get moving? Okay, so the question or the concept I want to cover is just the whole flow from beginning to here. Like the question is, how does our app know to go to these routes in the first place, right? So here we have router.get/. But the question I have is, how does your app know that this is the file to go to first to look? And this is we're gonna introduce this file here, app.js. You've created an app.js before, but check out this one. So this is what was generated. This was what was generated. You said express -e, all of this. This is a lot of configuration. Notice also it's using app.use. But the question to how does your app know to go to these JS files in your routes folder? The answer is right here. It says app.use. If you're going to the root folder, then go to this index router. Where is that being defined? Index router? It's being defined up here, where you're importing it from the folder routes index. Okay, so let me just add a couple of comments just to make things more obvious. So here, I'm going to add a comment. Let's say controllers. Now, this line here, const app equals express, that creates a new instance of the express application so it can be configured, right? That's just like how we had connect before. So I'll just say comment here. Well, here I'm just going to explain a few things here and there. Instantiates. Now, back in our code here, notice here, where did that go? There. This code here, res.render. The question is, how does render know where to look for this index? Answer, back in the app.js. So it's saying, whenever you're capturing a view, look in the views folder, which is right after the common directory name that we're in, kind of thing. That's what that means. Okay. Because we said initially express -e, this now has been changed. It's now app set view engine is EJS. If we did not say EJS, the default would have been pug. Also, let me see here. If I take a look at this one. So here's the default index.ejs. Notice how they have a link to the CSS file, and they just have /style sheets. Question, how did it know where to look? Because the style sheet is, again, reminder, it's under public style sheets. So how did it know where to go? Answer, this one right here. Whenever you're requesting a static file, like a CSS file, it will automatically go to the publics folder. Then we scroll down a bit more and we get our stuff. This is the stuff we kind of care about. And then we have some more error handling. And then finally, the last line is to make it exportable. So that app can be used anywhere. So you can say app.get in your other modules, or other code rather. Okay, so in terms of a big 10,000 foot view of what's happening, right? So when you, I'm just going to show you the flow in terms of what file does an incoming request hit first, then where does it go? Then where does it go? That's the idea of this demonstration. So let me close off these other ones. So the first thing is when you get an incoming request, when Node gets an incoming request from a browser, right? It'll look at app.js. It'll set all of this up first, all this configuration file, and it'll hit this one right here. Okay, you're asking for localhost port 3000. Got it. Oh, I already know where to go. It's index router. That was defined back up here, which was defined back in my routes folder, index.js. So let's go in my routes folder. So now it's going to go here, routes folder, index.js. And I say, yeah, you want to go localhost 3 port 1000? Go here. Indexcontroller.homepage. Where's that? Oh, that's come from here, which came from the controllers folder. Oh, okay. Let's go to controllers folder. Then it'll run all of this stuff. Done. That's the response. So you got the request, and you finally get the response. That's the flow of what's happening under the hood for Express. Cool. So again, just to relate it to the MVC model, the incoming request hits app.js, right? That's from the client. Then, in terms of the dispatcher, that's your routes. In terms of the controller, that's your controllers. And then in terms of your view, it'll output the HTML here. Okay, so that's basically the flow. So let's try and create our new web page. We'll call it random number. So it'll display some random number. Okay, let's close all of this up. Sure. Okay, so in your views file, okay, we're gonna work a little bit backwards, or maybe I should work forwards just to keep it consistent. Let me think for a second. Yeah, no, well, I think I'll work forward. So again, it's going to hit app.js first. It's going to see this. And there's a couple of ways to do this. I could have said, this is what I'm debating in my mind right now. Should I do this? Random, and it'll run the random page. Or should I leave this as is? It'll still go to the index.js file, and then it's only here where I say router.get/random. I think I'll use that. Okay. So router.get/random. Type in our request response text. And we're going to calculate some random number. So we're going to calculate some random number. Then we're going to display it on a page on number. Now, so I'll do it without the controller first. So calculate. So does anyone know in JavaScript how to calculate a random number? So there's a thing called math with a capital M, and then random function. That will give you some random number between 0 and 1. I have all these decimal places. Here, we'll say res.render, and we are going to display a random EJS file, which we have yet to make. We're going to pass in some variables. Why is it? Pass in a title of random, and a variable called random number, which will come from our sum number. So right now it's not going to work because If I go to localhost /random, it's going to look for this random.ejs. It's going to try to render random.ejs file from the views folder, which we have yet to make. So let's do that now. So click on the views folder, get a new file, called random.ejs. Let's put in a basic web template. So !tab. I'll just put some headings. Paragraph. Here we'll have title variable. Here we'll have random number variable. Link. It. Retry it. Let's try it out. So nodemon. I just say nodemon. Will that work? I think it works. Great. All right. Moment of truth. Right. That's right. Because we said code. Said if it goes to the root, it goes to the index controller homepage. But if we go to /random, then it does our new stuff. All right. Oh. It works. If I refresh, it's a new request. And each request I get, you get a new response, right? Now, in terms of making this fit our controllers, cut out. We'll actually replace it, and we'll use the same controller that we had previously. So it's like an index controller dot something else. We'll just say random, which means now we have to create a random in our controller. So I'm going to say exports.random equals paste. Work? Let's see. Let's put in a different title just to say, let's put in a different title. Random generation. Is it because I said nodemon, it should have restarted. Oh, what am I getting there? Anyways, it should restart. Uh-oh. Failed. What did I do? You saw my error before I did. What did I do? Oh, you're right. My bad. I should not change that. I should change that. Start properly? Yes, it did. There we go. There's a new page. Working as before with the new title. Now it's using the controllers, which is proper MVC. Okay. Just an FYI in terms of ES6, oftentimes in the if you're out in a job, you'll see something like this, where they create the variable that has the same name as right here. If you ever see that, that's valid. It will work. But new in ES6 is you don't have to do that. You just and that will work. Gosh, same thing. Oh, question, Amanda. You want to see the random file? Oh, this one here? Yeah. So if it's not working for you, just be aware I put the equal sign. And just double check to make sure your variable names are exactly case sensitive. That matches to variable names. Question? Yeah, Sean. Sorry, the easy way to fill out the header? Yeah. Oh, like when I first created the HTML page in VS Code? What I did was, let me just delete this for a second. In VS Code, if you just say exclamation mark, tab. That's Emmet. So we just created, just big idea, we just created a new view called random. Your lab and your assignment is going to ask you to create multiple views. So you just learned how to do that. Next thing for your assignment is something called creating partials. And I think you've done this before in your PHP class. Let's close this up for a second. So if you recall in your PHP class, what's the big disadvantage of having one web page look like this semantically plus another web page look like this semantically in terms of navigation menus? What's the big disadvantage? You probably, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I encountered this first year here, you know, Web 101, the first HTML class where, oh, I have an idea. Let me change my navigation menu. Oh, I forgot. These other web pages I made have to be all changed. So I have to create all, I have to make edits for all of them. Wouldn't it be great to split that out? So that's the whole idea of partials. So to create partials, so the whole idea is this. We are going to cut away that HTML code, and we are going to replace it with an include. Look under the folder called partials and include my new file called header. So that's basically the big idea, which you've all done in PHP. So how do you do that here? So this is what you do. In your views folder, create a new folder called partials. Inside that, create two new files, one called header.ejs, and you can guess the other one. Do that again. I did it in the wrong folder. So create one file called header.ejs, and create another folder or another file, header.ejs. So back here again, let me undo what I did before. So basically, you're just cutting everything that you think needs to be cut in terms of stuff that never changes. So in this code, it's up to the body tag. For other codes, it might be the main tag. I don't know, whatever. So I'm going to cut away this. I'm going to replace it with include, look inside the partials, use the header, save. Now let's go and define the header. Here's my header and paste. That's it. Done. So footer, you know what, just to make this more obvious, I'll add a footer tag. I'll add a little copyright symbol and copy 2018, all right? 068, something like that, save. So let me cut the footer that never changes, that is always there for every page, cut that out, add in the footer, save. Make sure I have the same kind of include statement at the bottom. That's it. Let's see if it works. Let's. Am I still running NodeMon? Yes. So we should be able to see that now. That was the root file I changed. There it is. Here's my new footer. So now all I have to do to make, because if I go to random, it's still the old random, right? I don't have the footer. So all I have to do is change that real quick. So we're done with that. We're done with that. We're done with that. Go to my random EJS page, and you just replace that with partials header, and replace this with that should work. Let's try our new random page. Let's see, refresh, go to random, have the footer. I have the footer. Yay. Cool. And this is where you can obviously add whatever CSS framework you want. Okay. I'm going to use right now something that you might want to use for your assignment. I'm showing it here. So this is one CSS framework that I kind of gravitated toward earlier on. And the reason why I like this is because under their templates, they actually have portfolio page. Let's check it out. Preview. So this is, they give you all the HTML and CSS for this cool looking portfolio page if you choose to use it. You have a blog, you got your about, you got your contacts. This is basically your assignment right here, right? So yeah, I want to use that. How do I use it? Let me go back Go back. Oh, I think it's over here. Here, download. Great, let's download it. Okay, let's put it somewhere. Let's see, what's the name of my app? It's called My App. For now, let me just download the zip file there. Sure. Show in folder. 7-zip extract here. Oh, that's not what I wanted. It has a whole bunch of other stuff. Ooh. Should have created a folder and then unzipped in that folder is what I should have done. Let me delete what I did. Create a new folder. Move it, my guy there. Zip it, extract here. There we go. Okay, so the first one, well, first of all, I need the CSS. Is right here, files. So I'm gonna move this guy, cut. What's my public folder? Style sheets. Paste. Oh, styles versus styles. Let me get rid of this guy. Gone. Let me rename this guy. File. There, I have a CSS file. And for that, anything else I needed? No. Okay, so let's try using their stuff. Index. I want the index HTML code, so I can copy and paste their HTML code in the index into my EJS, and it should look roughly the same. We'll see about that. Usually there's some CSS issues. So let's see, open a file. Temp, let me open up their index. There it is, copy, Control A all, for all, to select all. Control C to copy. Let me close up that file. So where is my index? There's index. Here's my index. Let me, for now, just blow that away, paste the whole thing, and see what happens. I should include this in my JavaScript too. Later, we'll do that later. Okay, let's try it. Let's see what happens. It'll probably look kind of weird, is my guess. That way, am I still running NodeMon? Yeah. Okay. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm almost there. You know, you have to fix some CSS issues. Put it. You know, the images have to be inserted because I didn't put any images in my images folder yet. But you get the idea, right? So from here, you can put whatever variables you want. And you could cut and paste. So I can, for my partials, for my header.ejs, I could cut all of this up to, I don't know, up to here, up to the main tag. Cut all that, put that in your header EJS, do the same thing for the bottom similarly, and then everything in the middle is just new stuff. Okay, does that kind of make sense? For your lab 4, you get to use, for bonus marks for lab 4, I've given you this one, which I also like. Realize.css, where you have to use their nav bar. So here, you could put this in your header.ejs and just replace the variables here. So this would be, you know, whatever the lab asks you to do, and this would be like your route, slash about, slash whatever it is. Okay. Alternatively, if you want to be easier and you don't even want to replace the default CSS file inside your publics folder, right? You don't want to replace, if it's too much work for you. Like, I'm fine if you just went to, for example, here, getting started, and copied and pasted these 2 links and put it in your header.ejs. That's fine too. You don't have to replace the CSS file. You can just put these 2 links in your header.ejs and it still works, right? That's fine. The important thing is that if you do decide to download it, make sure that in your code where you say link style sheet, make sure that the source actually has the leading slash of style sheets. If you forget that leading slash here, and you just say style sheet slash whatever .css, it's not going to. Make sure you have that leading slash there if you decide to download it. So lab 4. Let me talk about lab 4. You're getting 2 assignments in one day. Here we go, lab 4. So you will use, now keep in mind, this lab 4 was designed to help you with the assignment 1, so it's very, very similar. So if you can do lab 4 right, you can do assignment 1 right, okay? So use the express generator, it's due. Now, notice that I made the due date tomorrow by midnight, and that's because your assignment 1, part 1 is due next week, and I didn't want to give you 2 things due in the same week. Okay, but again, this is very fast to do because express -e builds the whole site for you. You just have to tweak a couple things. So create a new site where you have each member of your nuclear family is a link, right? So you have 4 links, for example. Here's Rich Freeman's family. He has Rich for a link. So this is his nav, right? This is a nav. You click on Rich, or if you click on his mom, Ethel, you will see a paragraph, a message there. Ethel, something about her mom. You click on Rich, you see something about Rich. Click on Paul, something about Paul. So you do the same thing. You create similar Express apps where each member of your family is something different. So if I go to localhost 3000/u, then click on a link for your mom, then it'll switch as well. Okay, so notice they all have this sharing the same header EJS file, and your routes, add routing to your proper routing to your index.js file. Okay, and to submit your lab, you are putting it on GitHub as well as publishing it either on Heroku, Azure, or some other one. I've given you opportunities for bonus marks. So if you refactor your routes index.js file so that it uses the controllers folder that I taught you, you get 1 mark. If you use this materialize CSS framework, so it looks nice and fancy instead of just links, you get another bonus mark, right? Because that prepares you for assignment 1. Okay? Any questions so far? Question, Thomas, yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes, you can use whatever you want on the assignment as long as it's not Bootstrap. Because in the assignment I said this. Use a CSS framework such as GetMDL, Materialize, or other, but not Bootstrap. Oh, lab 4, it's not required to use Materialize, but it is a bonus mark. So if you do use Materialize, you get 1 extra mark because it trains you to cut and paste. It trains you to cut and paste, yeah. It trains you to cut and paste your HTML code into the header and footer EJS files, which prepares you for assignment 1, right? Yes, this is, yeah, no, it's like kindergarten class, right? Cut and paste. Okay, so let's take a quick 10, 15-minute break. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is how to deploy your Node app to Heroku in Azure. Okay? Cool. Dan.
Are you teaching anything after this? Or?
No, I'm going straight to the library. I have a research help desk shift
So
downstairs.
This is the break. Are you teaching?
Oh, yes, I'm teaching after this. Yeah.
What?
Deployment, how to deploy to Heroku or Azure. Yeah.
It is the same, like how to make it
Mhm.
I was just thinking to leave, so
Yeah.
I'm also getting some lab now. I found this interesting.
Oh,
So I will
good.
finish lab 4.
Okay, good, good.
It's
Good.
right?
Yes, that's fine.
I will just come back.
Okay. But if you want more permanent, look at the file, and there should be a section for rules.
Okay.
Yeah, I know how annoying that is. Yeah.
One more thing. What I wanted to do is process.
Oh, so it console. Remember right. Remember this line from lab 3? Your URL.parse, and then you put the request. So this URL, you already found that out, but this method will parse it into a nice object, that query string. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Time to deploy. Before we do that, let me just quickly do something real quick that I forgot, which is required for your lab and your assignment. So I'm actually going to put in the links. So I'm going to put a very brief nav list here. So usually navs are unordered lists. So I'm going to put UL. Now this is emmet that I'm going to do here. And I want this to be ×2 because I only have 2. And then A, and then tab. I think it should work. Oops. A tab? No. Shoot. Again. A times 2. That works, but I wanted the A in there as well. Oh, right. A. Here I wanted home. Here I wanted random. And home was just slash, and random was slash random. So now, and I put that in my header EJS file, and I think NodeMon is still on. So now if I refresh, I should have both. So I click on home, it goes home, click on random, it goes random. Let's upload this amazing app to the web. Okay, so if I've asked you to create a Heroku account. So this is how to deploy it on Heroku if you choose to do so. You can create new app. Oh wait, we have to do something first. We have to go to GitHub, create a new repository. And we'll call it amazing app. And then we'll say create repository. Okay, let's do that. So let's go in here. Let's get into my terminal. Now in the past I've used, again, you could use this. I'm going to do it another way. I'm going to use it the VS Code way if you don't want to use command prompt. I think you could just go here. Let's see if this is right. ... No, this one. Oh, wait, shoot. Hover, what is this? Initialize, yes, initialize this. Yes, my app. Oh, so that's there. Oh, crap. Okay, this is what I was saying before. 463 changes. You tell me why is there so many changes, 463. I forgot to put in a git ignore. Like, I don't want to include all my node modules. So let's just, you know what, and this is why I like command prompt anyway. FYI, anytime you say git init or initialize repository, what it really does is it creates a new directory called .git. Watch. If I go into it, .git, I can see this hidden directory, and it has all of this. So this is what Git uses to keep track. So let's delete that. Never type this command ever. This is dangerous. Don't do it. Okay, now I deleted it. Let's start from the beginning. But this time I'm going to type a git ignore. Again, I could just say, new file name .git ignore, and then here just type node modules. But I'm just going to do it the command prompt way. So node modules, and output it into a file named .git ignore. Now I have a file called git ignore, right? Ignore node modules. Okay, great. Let's try it again. Initialize repository. Oops. Initialize repository. Yes, my app, do that. That's equivalent to saying git init. 100. Okay, that sounds right, I guess. And then next is git add. Oh, you know what? I don't want to do the command properly. I want to do it this way. So I'll say plus sign, where's the stage all changes, plus sign. Great. Now to commit it, so git commit, I can put a message. We'll say initial commit. Check mark, commit, there. Now this is the only thing where I have to use command line. I have to type in this one. I don't know any other way. Copy that, go into my command prompt, paste it in. Enter. Great. Now to push, I can now go here and say push. It'll be confused. Don't worry, say OK. And then it'll push it to the right thing. So by the time this finishes, I should have finished. So here's my Git. If I refresh it, it should, there, my code. You need this step first before you can use Heroku. So create new app in Heroku. Great. Call it whatever. Amazing. Oh, shoot. Okay, let's make it unique because someone already chose that. Let's make it my initials app. Amazing. All right. Create app. So press, click on create app. Now, this is where you can choose, okay, you're telling Heroku where to get your code from. You have some options here. We're going to choose GitHub, and we're going to find our stuff. Now, because when you initially created an account on Heroku, it's going to ask you for credentials from GitHub already. That's why it already knows me. So I can say, look for my amazing app. I think that's what it said. Yeah. Search for it. I found it. That's my Git. So this is coming from directly from GitHub. My GitHub. So I say connect. So now, as soon as I say connect, imagine Heroku is now FTPing, if you will, to GitHub, downloading it. Oh, not yet. Hold on. I have to say enable automatic deploys. This feature allows it so that if I make any change in my code and upload it to GitHub, Heroku will continuously test to see if there's any new changes and redeploy the new website automatically. So we like that. And here's the magic button to deploy the branch. So you click on this. Now, Heroku is going to go to GitHub, get my code, compile the node app, and then a few seconds later, it'll say ready. There. Your app was successfully deployed. Let's view it. Yes, please. House random. And it's coming from an actual legit URL instead of localhost this time. Wonderful. Let's do it in Azure. Azure. Create a resource. I believe it's web app. If there's something else, let me know. Name for my app. Let's say AV Amazing App. Create. Okay, deployment in progress. I believe I have to click. Oh, I have to wait for this to actually finish. Okay, let me just wait for this to finish. And you've all done this before, right? You know, you're at the classes. All right, so I don't have to demonstrate this, but it does the same thing. Yes? So you don't have to waste time watching me. Oh, go to resource. Yeah, all right. Might as well finish it off. Okay, go to resource. Go to deployment options. Configure settings. I want my GitHub. Choose project. I want my amazing app project. Okay. And then a few seconds later, it's done. And then I can now go to it. All right. So that is it. You can go if you wish to. There's my amazing URL, and it should be the same thing. So, oh, what happened there? Oh no. Oh no. Is it still working?
You have to put the file name. Random.html, that's the file.
No, that doesn't make sense. Really?
Yeah. And you have it.
There it is. No, that can't be right. There. So it's slash random. So it just took a while. Azure's slow. Home, random, and it's coming from a legit URL. Right? Done. Thank you all for coming. Showtime next week. Same time, same place.